Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. One more. Marco Pierre White. Recipe. Shepherd pie. Preemptive like. Go. My name's Connor. Original link. Top. Description. Discord. Also. Click on it. Love to have you. What? Alright, I gotta turn down the... No TV. I got this... I heard something insane. Like a wife chopped her husband... Never mind. Go. Oh, Alabama. That makes sense.
Shepherd's pie, if we're really honest with ourselves, it's one of the nation's favourite dishes.
It's my favorite.
It's very simple. Garlic, onions, fried off. Lamb mince, Worcester sauce, little flour, water. And the secret ingredient, as always, is a Knorr beef stock pot. Little oil, chopped onion, again, garlic.
One second, I have to get you my Worcestershire. See, this is what I'm used to. All right, you see how he had the. See, he has that bottle right there. But you see this one, it looks just like it looks. It's like I went inside a 200-year-old place, a little house owned by an old lady, and I went down into her basement and found a rare little fermenting little sauce, and then I just got it, and it's on my own. With this kind of packaging, it looks like, you know. Anyways.
Fried off. Lamb mince, Worcester sauce, little flour, water. And the secret ingredient, as always, is a Knorr beef stock pot.
I love how he always has his little stock pots.
Oil, chopped onion, again, garlic. It's optional. As always, cook your onions to remove the water content, to remove the acidity, to allow the natural sweetness. A little colour with the shepherd's pie. Lamb beef stock pot, it works fantastically well. And if you're making a cottage pie, exactly the same method, exactly the same recipe, no difference. Add the lamb and then break it up and mix it in with the onion. As you can see, the water content of the lamb is starting to release. What you have to do is continue to cook so that water evaporates. By doing that, it intensifies the flavour of the lamb again.
I've never had, is that like the traditional way? I've never had lamb in a shepherd's pie. A shepherd, though. A shepherd's pie, lamb. So I guess...
By doing that, it intensifies the flavour of the lamb again. And once the water's evaporated, then we can singe the lamb and then proceed into stage 2 with the Worcester sauce, etc.
Sauce.
My lamb's now been cooking with the onions and the garlic for approx 10 minutes. But you can hear this crackling now. That's because the water is almost gone. Once that happens, then I can start to singe my meat. That little bit of fat content which is still in the lamb will now render, caramelise. And that's how I'm building my flavour. Lots of people don't go to this extreme. Not because they're lazy, they just don't know. And so if you've got the time, then spend that extra 10-15 minutes evaporating the water and working your lamb. So there's no big lumps in there. How many times do you have a shepherd's pie with big balls of mince all glued together? That's because it hasn't been worked properly, it hasn't been cooked properly. We just add a little bit of flour just for body and texture. About 10 grams per half kilo. Worcester sauce, again to taste. Little tomato puree, beef stock pot, and then water. Approx half a litre.
I just say whenever I make like a pasta sauce, like with meat and tomato sauce, not to toot my own horn, but like I always like I chop up the meat, right? And I'm cooking the meat in the saucepan, you know, minced meat, and I'm chopping it up a good bit. And then before, like when it's got a little brown to it, but still a good amount of it is raw. Not a good amount, maybe like it's not fully cooked, but it's good in kind of minced, no big chunks. And then I put that into the cooking pasta sauce, and then I let it finish in there and kind of mash, and then it turns into a nice meat sauce. Not like meat in a sauce where you have chunks of meat, but like a incorporated meat sauce. I'm not a great cook, but okay.
So as you can see, we're building all the layers of flavour that are required for a great shepherd's pie. And a little sprig of thyme. Now we cook that slowly for about an hour. When you're making something like shepherd's pie, there's no real recipe. It's more method than recipe. So, you allow your palate to dictate. If you don't like Worcester sauce, leave it out. If you don't like tomato puree, leave it out. In my opinion, most people make their shepherd's pie too dry. I like my shepherd's pie quite wet, but still with texture. So when it's put onto my plate, it collapses.
I guess it depends what the wetness is. If it's a nice creamy part of the meat, if it's like too much water.
But it still holds together, rather than being a solid block. But again, everyone to their own. So our shepherd's pie mix is now being braising slowly on top of the stove for 1 hour. As you can see, there's a nice richness, and also it's not too dry, it's not too wet. So what we do now is we just spoon this into our dish. So then sprinkle my carrots and my diced swede, which is being cooked already.
Carrots.
Some people sprinkle peas.
Yeah, peas.
With their shepherd's pie. I prefer to root veg and peas on the side.
I'm more of a pea and corn kind of guy than that. Like.
And so now I'll allow this to chill and to set, which will enable me to put my potato on top. So as you can see, the shepherd's pie is now set. I have 1 kilo of mashed potatoes. Just very simply spread your mash. There's nothing worse, if anyone's told me, when you run out of mashed potato. So there's our basic. As you can see, I've spread the mash over my pie dish evenly, and I've created a nice seal. For presentation, dip your knife into the water so it just rides across the mash. Pop in an oven, which is very hot, for about 20 to 30 minutes. So there we have it, our shepherd's pie, 30 minutes in the oven, beautifully moist inside, not too wet, not too dry, and then we have this nice crispy topping.
Cut it open, please.
Underneath.
No. Fish pie. So shepherd's pie, I've never thought about that. Is that why it's called shepherd's pie? Because it's what a shepherd would make with with lamb. And so I'd prefer, some corn and peas rather than the carrot. But interesting, I've now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever eaten something that's not. I've eaten cows, I've eaten pigs, I've eaten chickens, I've eaten fish, but I've never had like a bison or venison or lamb or a goat or something like that, and I'd like to. Or like alligator. Cool. I hope I wasn't too whatever. All right. I love learning about this stuff. One of my favorite dishes, shepherd's pie, top 5 for sure. See you guys.